Today I want to do a quick little video on my old 99 7.3 F350 four-wheel drive, 4R100 automatic, 410 gears, and it's got about 101,000 on it. This is mostly the truck I use to pull trailers with, and sometimes I have to go to a wedding or unfortunately a funeral. I want a little bit nicer truck, I take this one. Otherwise, most of the time, I drive old Willard, my old farm beater. A little bit easier to get around. But let me show you what upgrades this truck has gotten to make it a little bit more reliable and tow a little bit better. Let's start with the engine area. Up here we have a boost filler resistor that tricks the truck into not seeing the over boost pressure. I can get about 27 pounds of boost with this truck, and if I didn't have that, it'd throw an engine code. You might see this little plug. These 7.3s have glow plugs. The late 99s also had a intake heater right here. Number one, I think that blocks a little bit of flow restriction. Number two, it's very rare, but they can't. It looks like a little spring in there, like a little coil spring, and they could come apart and go down your engine. So I got rid of that. Over here, this doesn't really have any performance effects, but I've disconnected the vacuum actuator for the shift on the fly four-wheel drive hubs because they never work anyway. And like most of you have probably done by now, these are mile marker. I've got warns on some of the other trucks. They're basically the same, but got rid of the vacuum hubs and these turn real easy. Back to some engine improvements. You won't be able to see it here, but it does have the pedestal delete. It had a little flap in there that would help the truck warm up cold weather. It's kind of like a little door in the turbo pedestal. It's supposed to give some back pressure, but they cause more problems than good. So it's got a delete pedestal, and it's got a Wicked Wheel 2 turbo wheel on it to deal with turbo shutter. You'll see this valve on my heater hose line, and I just took some metal and made little angles for it to set on so it didn't bounce around. That's actually for, I don't know if you can see the size, that's actually a PEX valve for PEX piping in houses. It's still rated for the pressure, it's still a brass valve, but what I like about that is it has the barbs already built in. Reason for that is some heat will still leak through from your heater core in AC mode, and with this valve open or closed, I've found it makes the AC about 2-3 degrees cooler. This truck will freeze you out with this valve closed. If we look in here, we'll see the other part of our boost filler. There's a tube right there with small hose that bleed off some vacuum. It makes the wastegate open later, builds more boost. Full out, I'll build about 27 pounds on this truck. Kind of an honorable mention here, that wonky battery terminal where about 4 wires run together, it started failing on me. So I bought a hydraulic battery crimper and did this route. I think that's a little bit better. And that's pretty much everything that I've done that we can see from under the hood. As we come inside, you'll see down there I have my Hydra. Here's the settings. I run on number 7, fuel sipper economy mode most of the time. It's not just a horsepower tuner. I really like the tow settings. High idle's nice sometimes. I use about 4 or 5 of them. And the heavier I'm towing, the more I'll turn it down. If I'm towing light, I'll go down there in 9, 80 horse tune. The heavier I'm towing, I want it to shift down easier and make less EGTs. So if I'm towing like the gooseneck and I'm up there 25, 30,000 gross, I'll put it in that 40 horsepower, number 3. And making extra horsepower on a truck, you don't want to do it without good gauges. So here's my CTS3 with the EGT sensor. And the other extra is a backup sensor, which helps with a 24 foot long truck. The main thing that was going to be a little bit expensive on the CTS3 was a boost gauge. And when I can, I like a mechanical gauge anyway. So I opted for just a mechanical boost gauge. And of course, if you still have the stock radio, you have to have a Bluetooth receiver. This next part really isn't an upgrade, but I really wanted to share it because if you're like me, you've been cussing these trucks for not wanting to come in and out of 4 low for years. And this whole time, I thought it was the trucks. Apparently it was me, because these trucks have to be in neutral and have a brake signal. You have to have your foot on the brake to shift in and out of 4 low. I did not know this. Foot on the brake, 4-wheel drive. Of course, 4-wheel drive will go in. 4 low, not going to happen. 4 low, in, out, in, out. I have 3 of these trucks, and ever since I figured out that it has to have neutral and a brake signal, I promise you, it's not missed a shift. Like I said, not really an upgrade, but man, why didn't I know that 20 years ago? Now, besides the turbo wheel and the pedestal delete and the tuner, it does have a 4-inch turbo back exhaust. Now, this could be a muffler, or it could be a piece of 5-inch exhaust over a piece of 4-inch pipe that could have been fabricated here. But as far as I'm going to tell the guy at the inspection station, it identifies as a muffler, so that's really all that matters. On the rear axle, I have airlift airbags. Those help quite a bit. You get a heavy pin weight on the gooseneck. And the way they've got it designed, it's teed together, and there's my fill. And here's that CT3 backup camera. Not a whole lot more to talk about. Got a bed cover that works with a toolbox. You don't see that every day. I wanted one with a Goldwing toolbox. And that's for a couple reasons. One, I could put stuff in the toolbox and I have to crawl up the bed to get it. Number 2 is when I haul lumber, I can roll this up and stick the long lumber under the toolbox and leave it stick over the tailgate. That works pretty good for hauling long boards. Now that I've told you what this truck does have for upgrades, let me tell you what I'd like to do next. First thing would be cold air intake. It's got the stock intake, an air filter box, which doesn't bother me that much, but somebody took the battery cover off, which makes the top of the cold air part of the intake. So I suck in a lot of under hood hot air, and it's nothing for me to have 20 degrees over if it idles very long, maybe 30 degrees over ambient temperature on the intake air temperature sensor. The other big thing that I would like to do eventually is put some 6.4 mirrors on it. Not that I don't like the styling of these mirrors, but I had 6.4 mirrors on another truck, and I just really like the field of view out of them. They're not that much bigger, it doesn't seem, but you can just see a lot better out of those mirrors. But we're getting to the end and it's getting dark. Not really much to talk about on this truck. The black wheels, I had aluminum, the 5-star factory lariat wheels. You saw my short, they cracked on me. So I put Steelies all the way around, painted them black. You know, it's hard to tell right now, you guys are in the dark, but it don't look too bad. I mean, I am not a black wheel guy, but on this truck it's really starting to grow on me. I mean, that's just a matter of preference, but give me your opinion. What do you think? You think if I change the color on the bottom to something besides that tan, maybe a dark charcoal, and maybe put some chrome lug nut covers on it, the black wheels wouldn't look too bad? Tell me what you think. And guys, I really appreciate you staying to the end. If you have any questions about this truck or how I like it or what I'd do different, leave it in the comments. And I sure appreciate you watching my videos.